Come on in, everyone. Come on in because, y'all, we are back. Can y'all believe that we are back to talk about Love is Blind? I thought we was done with the show. I really did. And for the most part, I was going to be done with it. But you know what brought me back? What brought me back is all this chatter around Love is Blind season and so-called MAGA, whichever, I don't even know, is it MAGA? And this is what I want to say. I want to say a couple of things. I was right about something. And I think a lot of y'all was wrong about something. And I think y'all are going to have to admit it. And I think a lot of people are now trying to reframe it in a kind of way that that's not what it is either. I saw this article from the Griot. Y'all know the Griot? It's like black news. And the headline was, did Love is Blind lean hard to the right this season? Fans seem to think so. Not me. I don't believe it. I don't believe that they leaned hard to the right. I don't. And you know why? Because I think they actually did the opposite. And this goes back to what I was saying before. First of all, everybody's got to understand the history of Netflix and how Netflix is actually seen in the political world. They are not seen in the political world as leaning to the right. They're not. I mean, don't y'all see the news? Don't y'all read the news? Ted Sarandos, the CEO, first of all, he married to a black woman. And the right has often accused Netflix of trying to influence society with leftist beliefs. The left believe the complete opposite of Netflix. The right believes the complete opposite of what everyone else is saying. Everyone is saying that Love is Blind leaned to the right. But if you listen to people on the right, they can't stand Netflix because they believe Netflix is too left-leaning. This is the history of Netflix. Even right now, I know Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers. It's a big in the news, trying to buy Warner Brothers. And they're trying to block it in Congress and other kind of places because they don't want Netflix to actually get too much more exposure to society and unwittingly expose society to more leftist beliefs. So this idea now, all of a sudden you got fans out here saying, now that they done figured out that Christine and Vic could possibly be part of MAGA, whatever. This is what people were saying, because now everybody feels duped. All those people who were so enthralled and in love with Christine and Vic. And I was one of those people saying, you know, I love love, and I'm happy for it, but there's something about that Vic fella. I've told people, I said there was something about the Vic fella, but I didn't really talk on it much because guess what? I didn't have no proof. And the reason why I didn't have proof of anything that I felt in my gut was because we never got to solve them. We never got to see them, right? Now, a lot of you were going around talking about, the reason why we never did see Christine and Vic was because they weren't toxic. And Netflix, Love is Blind, only wants us to see toxic black people. And they don't want us to see any real love with a black man or a black person. They only want to show black people acting a fool and acting crazy. And as a result, they hid from us this wonderful black man with a PhD from New York. And at that time, y'all was mad at Netflix from hiding Vic from us. And my theory, which wasn't all the way right, but it was probably the closer than y'all's theory, who thought it was because they didn't want to show us toxic, was I said, no, because what I was telling everyone was, in order for Love is Blind to decide that Vic and Christine were boring and they didn't want to show their storyline, they would have had to film them first, realize it was boring, and then say, we're not going to show your love story. What I said was the production team on Love is Blind, very early on in the process, decided they were not going to follow Christine and Vic. And I said, I don't know why they did it, but my gut was they didn't trust the story. That's what I said. I said they didn't trust the love story between Christine and Vic because maybe they felt it happened too fast, too soon. That Chris and Christine and Vic, maybe because they didn't date other people, maybe the producers felt, hey, we don't trust this love story, so we're not going to really invest in it. And that's the reason why they didn't show it. That's what I said. I said it was a matter of, it was something about this couple that they didn't like. And therefore, they didn't want to show it. Y'all were saying it was because they were trying to shield us from a nice, wholesome couple, and Love is Blind only wants to show toxic people. I never believed that. I never believed that explanation. So fast forward now, I'm going to sort of go back to what I said, that the reason why they were not shown from the very beginning had to do with something that the producers saw very early on in the communication and conversation between Vic and Christine, that they decided, I know we don't want to follow this. We don't even want to air this. We don't even want this couple on the show. And what I believe is during those conversations from Vic and Christine in the pods, that they were talking about a lot of this stuff, political views, political leanings, a lot of rhetoric surrounding around MAGA talk, right facing talk. That's what I believe now. And the reason why I believe it is because they also cut it out of other couples. You now have confessions from Jessica, and you have confessions from Brittany, right? You now know behind the scenes, there were people on this show that were conflicting in their political views. They all came out and said all of these conversations about politics was happening behind the scenes. But we never saw any of it, which means what did Love is Blind do? They edited it out. It happened and they edited it out. And I think the only difference between Christine and Vic was they edited them out completely. It had nothing to do with they don't want to show us toxicity. I think Love is Blind didn't know how much MAGA political conversation was going to go on in these pods, and they made the decision that they weren't going to air any of it. And it sounds as if, now that we're here, that maybe one of the couples that had maybe the most conversation about it, the couple that was going to be most triggering about it, was this couple right here, Christine and Vic. That's why they got X'd out. I said it earlier, that no, this was forethought. It had nothing to do with the budget. It had nothing to do with money. Now, some of the people who don't like Netflix and believes that Netflix is too left-leaning, y'all could be mad. Because what you now essentially see is Love is Blind cut out any of that MAGA talk. Now, what if you part of MAGA? You could be mad. You could be like, dang, so they're censoring people who have different viewpoints than Netflix or Love is Blind. See, a lot of people over here are attacking Love is Blind and Netflix with this headline, did Love is Blind lean hard to the right? No, they actually didn't lean hard to the right. What they would have done, if what I'm saying happened, where they cut out all of the right talk, conversation, that means they lean heavily to the left. They pandered to the left. That would mean what they did was they say, we're not going to put this on screen. We're not going to let these conversations with Vic and Christine make the cut. We're not even going to take them on the honeymoon, right? So was I all the way right? No, but I was closer than what you guys were saying. Y'all were saying the reason why they weren't on TV was because they were wholesome, and Love is Blind only wants to show us toxicity. I didn't believe that, right? I wasn't right about what it was they didn't trust about them. I wasn't right about what it is they didn't like about it, but I knew they didn't like something about them. I knew they didn't like something about them. And now here we have Vic and Christine, who've gone on Fox News, which is a trigger. Is a trigger for a lot of people. It's a trigger. It is a trigger. And now they're here. You know, and I guess a lot of people are upset. There's going to be a lot of people really upset with Vic. Maybe people would expect it from Christine because she's white, and they have a problem with it from Vic because he's black. But I had raised another red flag with Vic, and that was Vic's profession, right? I said, I'm confused, Vic. You're from Brooklyn. You're from an urban city. You're a professor. You talk about racial injustices. That's what you're a professor of, is what you teach. Equity and inclusion, whatever it is you're talking about. But we just know that the DEI got canceled. You're talking about justices in, you know, the prison sentence and incarceration, all these types of things. I'm sure that Vic is a part of in his daily work. And then what I had pointed out was I'm finding some contradictions here, and it's leaving me a bit confused with Vic, right? It was leaving me a bit confused. But I'm not confused no more. I'm really, really not confused anymore. Before, it wasn't lining up with me when I saw what was going on. I thought, wow, this is weird. And because I was confused, because I didn't trust it, because it didn't feel like, sort of like, I don't want to call it a safe space, but a comfortable and sort of like, oh yeah, I can see it, I too didn't trust it. And so I couldn't call it out. I couldn't say what it was. I couldn't name it because so much of their story was kept from us by Netflix. So I didn't know, I didn't have any proof. I didn't have anything to back up my intuition. I didn't have anything to back up my instincts. Nothing. But it sounds like Netflix had a whole lot more. Love is Blind had a lot more information, because we find out in the pods that these were big conversations between these couples. Jess said she had these conversations a lot with, who was the guy she was with, Chris. Brittany said she also had these conversations. So it tells us both Brittany and Jess said that there were closeted MAGA people in the pods that did not reveal that they were MAGA. So they felt duped by these people. Jess says she felt duped by Chris because she said it was very important to her, right? And so when I tell you that feeling of feeling duped, not being honest, who cares about what your political beliefs are? But are you bold enough to say your political beliefs out loud, or do you pretend to be one person, but you're another person? Hear me well. Do you appear to be one person, Vic, but you are another person? And that's what makes people feel duped. And I tell you, that's why I believe the producers didn't trust them, and that's why they didn't show their story. Because we've got a black man from New York with dreads, grew up in the urban city, Caribbean descent, professor, PhD, social justice, social awareness, inequities. Okay? All of a sudden, you might believe you know their political viewpoints. You might believe you know where they stand because you've made assumptions based on where they're from, their experiences in life, the color of their skin, their immigrant background, right? You could believe that, hey, you and I are in alignment. But then that person comes on Love is Blind, and all of a sudden, guess what? You blindsided. I didn't expect you to show up like this, Vic. I didn't expect this to be who you are. I was expecting you to possibly be a match for Tyler, or what was the other girl's name? Kia or someone, I forgot her name. That's who I was expecting you to possibly be a pick for. But you mean to come on here and you told me with your dreads from Brooklyn, an immigrant family and everything like this, you came over here with a MAGA perspective looking for the white girl? I'm pissed. You tricked me. I don't trust you. And now that I know you duped me and I don't trust you, I'm not going to film you. I'm not going to put you on TV because I'm not going to let you sit on here and spew this rhetoric that I didn't even know you believe this. What I believe is there are a lot of people who try to hide their political beliefs so they could fit in, so they could get along, so people would choose them, so people would want to be with them, right? And maybe Vic did that so he can even get put on the show. Like I said, I never really had full proof of why I didn't trust Vic, but I know why. Now I know my instincts were right. I know my instincts were right. See, sometimes you don't have to sit around to see the outcome. You can trust in your instincts to know this ain't where I need to be. This something ain't right here. A lot of people, what they do is they know something ain't right, but they don't run. They don't flee because what they're saying is, I gotta figure it all out. No. I already knew something was wrong with them. Am I happy that they found each other? Yeah, because you know what? I love love. So I'm still gonna be happy that they found each other, but that doesn't mean I'm in alignment. That doesn't mean that I'm glad they found each other, but that doesn't mean I'm in alignment. But I want to say that a lot of people got it wrong. And what the other part that I'm not really feeling right now is everybody, like I said, with this headline, did Love is Blind lean hard to the right this season? No, the answer is no. They didn't lean hard to the right. If they were leaning hard to the right, they would have showed us all this. They would have showed the conversation between Vic and Christine. They would have showed the conversation between Jess and Chris. They would have shown the conversation between Brittany and whoever else she was talking to. They would have shown it. They cut it all out. They didn't want you to see it. They didn't want to give it life. They didn't want to give it a voice, right? So now you got to ask yourself, what you going to be mad at Netflix Love is Blind over? Are you going to be mad because they censored these people, right? Did they censor these people? Right? For what some could say is Netflix's own agenda to be more to the left. And now you got Vic and Christine saying, I will not be silenced. You cannot silence me, Netflix. You see, here's the other twist. You know, when Vic and Christine were on the reunion and they said, hey, did you feel a kind of way that your story wasn't shown? And I said, Christine sat up there and said, no, I don't think that the story wasn't shown. No, I'm not upset that our story wasn't shown. I understand that, oh, maybe we're just not toxic. And I said to myself, I even said it in my review. I said, wait a minute, Christine, why can't you say that you are upset that here you did come on Love is Blind, you found the love of your life, and Netflix Love is Blind decided to cut out your whole love story? Why wouldn't you be upset with that? I would. Yeah, you're happy that you found the love of your life, but wouldn't you know deep down inside that your whole story got cut out? Wouldn't that make you feel a certain kind of way? Would it make you feel like, dang, that's jacked up, Netflix Love is Blind. You cut out my whole storyline, right? How could you just be so willing to accept it like it's no big deal and you're happy? Now we see Christine and Vic on Fox News. That looks like some get back to me. Like, it goes back to what I'm saying. You present one way, but in another way, are you secretly upset that you were censored? Because that's what you were. Let's be honest. Even the left people have to agree they were censored. Their whole storyline of Christianity, whatever else, whatever their beliefs are, it was censored. It wasn't shown. Lots of these people's right-leaning views were not shown. You mean to tell me some of them may not be upset or mad about it? You think they just didn't notice it? And now Christine and Vic have their opportunity. You might have censored me, Love is Blind, Netflix, but we're gonna go over here to Fox News and tell our real story because you censored me. You censored me. So who's the real leftist or right? No. They felt censored by Love is Blind Netflix. They didn't say it out loud. They didn't tell you the truth. They felt some kind of way about it. And they said, that's fine. We're going to go over here to Fox News. We're going to tell our story and we're going to be heard. We are absolutely going to be heard. There you have it. But everybody needs to stop calling Netflix right-leaning. That's that y'all are getting it wrong. I really believe y'all are getting it wrong. That's not the history of Netflix. And even in this situation, they did not let these storylines make it on air. They cut them all off at the pass. They censored them all, right? If anybody should be mad, it should be the right, because their stories got fully cut out. The only way we know about all these undertones, political undertones, is because the Jesses of the world, the Britneys, and everyone else started telling us a story that it was happening behind the scene. Now we know the story. I believe. I got enough now. I've got enough now that filled out the story for me. I was wondering why they didn't trust Vic and Christine. I was wondering why they decided not to tell their story. And now I know. They did feel duped by them. They felt duped. And I believe that when Vic auditioned for this show, they had no idea of his belief system or any of it. I believe he duped all of them. And they got him back and said, that's fine. You want to come over here and pretend you're one person and you're not that person at all? That's fine. We're going to cut out your whole story. And they were forced. The only reason why they were forced to actually bring them back in the end, it wasn't because they had to have one couple that made it. No. They had to bring them back in a lot of ways because they were the only couple that made it. How would that look? That you have one couple that made it and you didn't even show them? It would really be too obvious. It would kind of be too obvious the reason why they got cut out. So they had to bring them back at the last minute. If other couples had made it, maybe they would have never brought them back. But you mean to tell me no couple made it? You had one couple that made it and you never even showed their story? So, a lot of people were saying they cut them out because they were boring. Well, they're not. They're still boring. They're still boring to a lot of people. And so I think a lot of people got it wrong. And so I think now this sort of doubling back, now trying to jump down the throat of Netflix, Love is Blind, I think the information that we have now actually proves the opposite. It actually proves that Netflix actually was trying not to have this political divide and these political conversations a part of this series. They did not want to ostracize any of their audience. And so what they did was, if there were couples that were having too much of this conversation around political views, what they decided to do was to not show them at all and not show the conversations. And from the looks of things, it's a possibility that Vic and Christine had a lot of conversation around probably viewpoints that might have leaned too far into a political affiliation. There you have it. There you have it, y'all. But anyway, I really want to know what y'all think. I really will do. So drop down the comment. Let me know your viewpoint. If you agree, disagree, or you still you don't know what the hell's going on. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.